are you? It's ReneMarie from ReneMarie Stroke of Luck. I hope everybody's having a wonderful day and staying warm in New Jersey. It's cold out. It's cold out. I am so honored and privileged to have the second series show part with Teresa St.Frances. She's a very dear friend of mine. She is an author, a gifted spiritual messenger, an animal communicator, a lecturer, a private readings, and she also does workshops. And she does phenomenal work. And we're honored and privileged to have this opportunity with her to learn a little bit more about her and to find out the story of how someone finds out that they're a medium and how they tune into that and how they get geared to that, because I know that when you're living the life you're supposed to, it's always the hard road. It's not the easy road, and it's really a challenge. But I'm so honored and privileged to know her and to know her for many years and to actually have experienced and been through part of the journey with her, and really watch her grow, because she has grown and she's done tremendous work in the industry, in the spiritual medium industry. And so I'm going to introduce her, and then we'll get to what we're going to talk about, and we'll give you an outline of everything so that we're good. So, hi Teresa.
Hi, thanks for having me again.
You're welcome.
I'm so looking forward to it.
Yes, it's so good. It's so good. I really think that you're a gift to the universe, and
thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You try to help people, and you make their lives better, and it really is tough work, and it really is humbling for me to have the opportunity to sit here and to hear your stories. I mean, we met a month ago. It wasn't a month ago? No, it was a few weeks ago. Probably about 2 weeks ago.
About 2 weeks ago, we did the first part of the interview.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about my childhood. We talked a little bit about how I grew up. We talked a little bit about my first experiences spiritually with Al. We talked a little bit about my younger years.
Yeah. And if anybody wants to see that first segment, I know I have it posted on my www.ReneMarieStrokeofLuckTV.com. You can go to it, watch it after you view this one, and this one's going to be posted on there as well. So you'll always have the opportunity to follow up and to view it, so that you can get a little bit of history. But we're gonna give you a quick recap of what we spoke about, so that bring you up to speed, so you understand where we're going and what we're doing. So Teresa, just give them a brief, history about your beginnings, because I know we spoke about you at a young age, really feeling different than everybody and not being accepted for the gifts you had, because back then those gifts were unknown to people. People didn't know that they were spiritual mediums, and from an Italian family it goes a little bit deeper, and I can say that because I'm Italian too. So tell us a little bit.
I think one of the things I didn't include last time is how I got here. When I was born, I don't know if I told you this story.
No.
I was a blue baby, and I was allergic to my own bacteria.
What's a blue baby?
Blue baby means you have two different blood types in your body.
Wow. So
when you're born as a blue baby, they have to drain all your blood out and put one type in.
Wow.
So I had two different blood types.
Wow. That's incredible. I never heard of that before.
It's called the blue baby.
Is it common?
I think it was more common back then.
Wow.
I don't think you hear much about it now.
Wow.
But my mother had Bell's palsy when she was carrying me the last 4 months of her pregnancy, and I was delivered early, October 4th, which is how I came about having my name, Teresa St.Frances, because I was born on St. Teresa. Actually, I was born on St. Francis, and St. Teresa's the day before.
Wow.
And my mother prayed to St. Teresa of Avila, of Little Flowers, because she wanted me to live, and the prognosis was I wasn't supposed to live.
Teresa, but I just think it's so, the connections. I love St. Teresa. I have her all over my home.
Me too.
It's so ironic, and I just found this out, like your connection to it. So that's incredible.
So my connection to animals to St. Francis. My mother prayed to St. Teresa for me to live. When I was born, the prognosis, as I said before, wasn't good. I was in incubation for 6 months. They had to withdraw all my blood initially and put in At that time, they were putting in A positive, so my blood type is A positive.
Wow.
My mother never saw me. She never came to the incubation room, not like they do today. Because the prognosis was that dire, she didn't want to get attached to me, only have to bury me.
Oh my God. But that just means you were special from the start. Right?
When I've talked to Jesus and Mother Mary, and in my mediumship work, I've seen them, they're part of my team. I often have this conversation like, why didn't I just go? Life has been so difficult. I've had so many challenges. Why didn't I just go? And they're like, oh no, this was part of your education. This was, and I argued a lot even as a child with them. I mean, in having my mother tell me the story, she would get updates from the doctor that, you know, some days were good, some days weren't so good. To compound the matter, I was also allergic to my own bacteria.
Wow.
So I had really bad allergies.
Is when you were young, or as you grew through your
No, I was
childhood?
born with it. So I not only was a blue baby, I was allergic to bacteria, algae, dust.
Wow.
So coming in, it was a very complicated process for me.
Wow.
So up from the time I was born till I was 9 years old, I had allergy shots every day.
Wow.
Because of the bacteria issue, the dust issue. My parents in the house had intercom. I know we don't know about intercom these days, but they had intercom in the house.
Yes, yes. Yeah, when you push a button, you go, hello, anybody home? I'm in the other room.
Everybody calls on their cell phone today, but
text. No, call. They text. I'm here.
But my parents intercom the house, and because of the allergies, I was asthmatic. So we were frequent flyers in the emergency room. It was at least once a month I would land in the emergency room because I would stop breathing while I was sleeping.
Wow.
And today we have all this technology, we have all the inhalers. There was not that back then. So we've made great technology and great process that I don't see what I went through, a lot of it happening to children today in the fashion that it happened to me.
Wow. That's incredible. That's just...
So that was part of my younger years. And it was kind of difficult, actually. Every day after school, we truck off to the allergist and get a shot.
So did I.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's so ironic because I'm just finding out this stuff, and I've known you for at least 15 years, and I'm just finding out this stuff that we so much we have in common, more in common. I can't believe it. Every day I'd have to go to the shop, to the allergist and get a shot, because that was the only way that they could control my allergies.
Well, they were hoping that I would grow out of it because of the dust, pollen, and mold issues, that my lungs would stop.
Wow.
And I would stop breathing.
Wow.
So they'd have to put me on a ventilator, an inhaler, and I would spend the night in the hospital and come home the next morning.
Wow.
So that went on until I was about 9 years old, and then I actually grew out of it. But since then, you know, I'm more prone to bronchitis, I'm more prone to pneumonia.
Right.
I don't have the strongest set of lungs when it comes to, if I get sick, that's the immediate first point of, I get hit.
That's where it goes. That's where it goes.
So growing up, there was a lot of, the way I view this is from a spiritual perspective, and talking to my tag team, because I often question, why am I still here? You know, having survived cancer, having just survived 30 days in the hospital with diverticulitis, which I'll get into that story in a little bit, with the 24,000 white blood count. They never thought I'd live, and it was just a few years ago. Always these challenges in my life, health and having issues, that brings me into a whole spiritual realm.
Well, you had to, you know, I think that you have to reach out to something. For something, it has to be, you know, the unknown. People, when they have tragedies in their life, that's when they reach out for the unknown. And you've had such
I've had a
rough journey. Explain to the audience that has never known about spiritualness, who is your tag team?
Tag teams are teachers, angels, and guides. They are spiritual family support. They are there to encourage us, to help us to secure our life path and help us in our life. Now you have angels, like a guardian angel, which is not really part of the tag team. The tag team sits outside the guardian angel. You have your guardian angel. That's separate because that's a karmic issue. And karmic issue meaning that you've agreed to have lifetimes with one specific angel. And that's your guardian angel. Your teachers, angels, and guides are a team inclusive of your angel, but separate, that orchestrate protection, that orchestrate insight, that orchestrate your intuition, that give you love, that give you healing. So they're part of the whole family. And we come on this planet and we have family. We're born into a mother or father.
Right.
Sometimes we have siblings, sometimes we don't. But we have grandparents and aunts and uncles. We have the same thing on the other side for support and love.
Now, I know what the general public is thinking out in the universe. They're thinking, if you have all these angels around you, how come you went through so many struggles that you went through?
Really good question, and thank you for asking. I believe when you hear my story, but also read the mystics and read about their lives, every mystic has had health challenges, severe health challenges, and very severe, difficult lives, depending on the era they lived in, will depend on how that life unfolded. But they've all had struggles, they've all had financial losses, they've all had family losses. It's very tragic and devastating lives. So I've come to learn that that's part of how the spiritual awakening rests within the body. Because when you're that, in that level of despair, that level of anguish, that level of need, and the raising up of, dear God, please help me, I am at ground zero.
Right.
And there's no place to go. That opens the veil to the spiritual awakening, is because that opens to connection. You know, good things happen to bad people because we need to learn. We need to know how to connect with ourselves, how to use the tools the Creator gave us, but also how to bring the Creator in.
Right.
And how to trust that connection.
Right.
The only way you're going to do that is through trials and tribulations.
Yes.
And because I've known all of my life, I've been different. And being the teacher, having had so many things happen to me in my life, that I can turn around and walk behind me in my journey and say, I see somebody on the path behind me who needs help. I can come and boost you up, I can lift you up. I can also give you love and support.
Well, that's what you try to teach in your open forums and in your private readings, is how to understand that, how to connect, how to stay. Although, even though you teach us how to connect and we learn how to connect, things are still going to happen to you. Things are still going to happen to you.
Well, in order for me to do the work that I do, and unfortunately this is a real reality, I can't help somebody unless I've experienced it myself in not exactly the same situation. But when I connect through your soul level. When I see a person not what they're physically wearing, but what their soul's carrying and what's their burdens. And my job is to help you release those burdens with the Creator's help.
Right.
And that's why I do readings, that's why I do open forums, that's why I do events, that's why I wrote the book, is to improve the quality of your life. So whatever you come to the table with. Now, I don't have to experience everything that you've gone through, but I think there's a level of humility with having gone through that.
Right.
It is a level of connectiveness with the Creator because of the despair and the pain and the suffering and the unknown.
The unknown is very scary. That's where faith comes in.
Correct.
Because you have to trust that better things are coming and that you can recover, and you need hope to do all that stuff. And
that's a great point, but I also think we need to reach out to the Creator. Like, I need your help. Opening up that dialogue, and I'm talking to my hands, you can definitely tell I'm Italian. I watched the last one and I promised myself.
I talk with my hands.
I was just looking at the camera and I was like, okay, stop talking with your hands. I think we need to embrace the Creator, whatever you believe that to be, and bring it into our lives. And the only way we do that is through difficult times.
Right.
If everything is going good, you're not reaching up for help. You're not opening up your heart. You're not, and I have to say it this way, but you're not in trouble. And when you're not in trouble, you're not in despair, you're not suffering, you're not in pain, only then do you kind of say, I don't need that help. I can disregard that. Everything's going well.
Right.
There's no need for the angels. Because we're human and that's what we think. It's that ego that makes us think we don't need that help. Right. Everything's going fine.
So how do you suggest to our audience to connect on a simple level, Teresa? Because, the general population never did it before. They never did it before. They don't know how to, to get into that silent place and to really humble yourself to the Creator, to ask for help, because most of us on another level are afraid to ask for help.
Well, I think we're afraid to ask for help. We're afraid what the response is going to be. We're afraid of rejection, which none of the Creator has. But I think the ego is the biggest deterrent of getting us to connect with the Creator. Once you remove that ego, that I, that it's all about me, or I'm afraid, all that I, you remove that, that's when you can start to connect, because the Creator is I am. And that I am in every language, in every religion, in every culture has a basis of being present. And the Creator is ever present through the I am. And the I am is that invoking that energy that the Creator gave us, which is our soul. And that's how we connect. We connect on a soul level. We don't connect on a physical level.
Right.
We
Now,
I
I think in my world, I do it in different ways every day. You know, sometimes I go into a meditation, sometimes I go into prayer, sometimes I just put music on in the house and I stroll around the house and I connect with God. Are there any ways that you could suggest to our audience to help them in a simple term to connect?
Yes, and I'm hearing Spirit behind me to say God is 72.
I thought I was
God.
72 years old. I'm like, 72 years old? God.
But a diamond has 72 facets to it.
Wow.
And so does the Creator. In the Hebrew tradition, there are 72 names of God, each one invoking a different aspect of the Creator. And the reason I bring that up is because how you connect with the Creator is strictly up to you. You can do it through song, you can do it through meditation, you can do it through walking in the park, you can do it through being on the ocean, you can do it laying in bed as you're falling asleep. You can do it as you get up in the morning. You can do it while you're washing the dishes. There's no right or wrong way of connecting with the Creator, connecting with your angels. If you have never done it before, I often recommend, and I teach in my classes and workshops, to sit quietly. Put a candle in front of you. Try to put yourself in a serene room where you're not distracted, where it's quiet, or put on some very relaxing, tranquil music, and allow yourself to relax. Take some deep breaths. And feel the energy wash over you. Feel yourself relax. And when you become in a calm, relaxed state, and what is extremely important with this as well, is to avoid out all the thoughts. You know, we in this country, especially Western civilization, are so big on our thoughts. We get caught up in the to-do list, the things I need to take care of, the things I didn't take care of. All that clutter and chatter actually voids out your ability to connect, because it's not about connecting in your head, it's about connecting in your heart through love. But if your mind's not quiet, your body's not quiet.
Yes. I mean, that's what I was just thinking. I remember one time someone saying to me, like, praying is, you know, you pray, but you have to listen to God. You have to quiet yourself to be able to listen to Him, to hear Him. You know, and there's a lot of conversations in the silence. There's a lot of conversation. There's a lot of, like if you could, and I could do this because of my stroke, but if you could go from the earthbound to the spiritual side, and just, it takes the quiet to get there, and you kind of transition into the quiet, and there's a lot of conversations, and I know that's what you hear with the
all the time.
Spiritual communication.
And I think one of the things that you made a great point on is, I've learned this myself. When you pray, you're sending up those gifts, that love, that assistance, that call out to the Creator. I'm reaching out to you. God's answer comes in the silence. And many people think that silence is frightening, it's scary, it's deafening, because the expectation is, especially through Hollywood and the movies we see, it should be a lightning bolt, it should be thunder, it should be loud, it should be tremendous. And the Creator comes quietly.
Yes.
Comes
it's a little whisper.
The little whisper.
Little whisper.
And the little sign that you see, the little feather coming down from nowhere, or the penny that you find, or the love that you feel. And I'm going to say this to you, and I'm going to tell all of you, it comes in simple terms of something just as simple as, I'm sitting quietly and all of a sudden I feel a complete wash of relaxation, of all my burdens being released. That's the Creator. That's your tag team. That's your angels, who the Creator gave to you as a gift to help. It's not this magnanimous, here's the lightning bolt, I just shattered all the light bulbs in the house and God opened up the roof and now he or she is here.
Right.
It doesn't work like that.
And the other thing is that I've learned through the process is, like, when you put your visions out, when you ask for a prayer, it's not going to happen in 2 seconds. It takes transition from one thing to another. You need to stay in that balanced, quiet space and allow the dedication to the process to happen so that you could get to where you want to go.
That's the key. I call it Creator time. It's Creator time, not human time.
Right.
We as humans have a very preconceived reality of, I've asked for it and I've delivered it, or I asked for it and I need it now. And especially with the cell phone technology and texting, we expect as soon as we call somebody should pick up because they should have their cell phone on them. Or we text them, we expect immediate response. We're becoming trained like that because of the technology. And the Creator, the universe, the angels, whatever you believe, doesn't work based on human perception. It doesn't work because we expect it to work that way.
Right.
They work at their own time and their own pace and deliver their messages their own way. No 2 readings that I do are ever alike. People come to me and since I'm an empath, I could feel them. Sometimes
What's an empath?
Empath is the ability to feel emotion, to feel the energy of a situation or a person. So I'm gifted with that. I'm also clairvoyant, which means I have the ability to see spirit. Sometimes they come full figured, like just before they pass. Sometimes they come partial figured, or they'll come in a way of being in their prime between the ages of 28 and 33. Sometimes they'll come as children, depending on how evolved they are.
Right.
I'm also clairaudient, which means I hear. But my point being is, Spirit's going to work with you individually.
Right, right.
What works for me is not going to work for
Right,
you.
right.
And even if it works for you the same way, there's going to be a slightly different tweak to it.
Right.
There's going
Right.
to be a slightly different, because each of us have a unique fingerprint. We also have a unique soul. And having that uniqueness also makes our tag team, the Creator, unique to us. So the way you receive your messages, you receive your guidance, and the way I do it might not be the same way. Or some days it might be the same way. But I will tell you there's no rhyme or reason. I will tell you, establish a dialogue with the Creator, your guardian angel, whatever you believe. And I keep going. I want you to understand it's well-rounded. It's not secular in the sense of I can just do this person or that spirit or the Creator I need.
Right.
We as humans get caught up in that. The spiritual realm doesn't get caught up in all that ego and identifying. In the true spiritual realm, there is no names. We identify each other spiritually through energy and the different frequencies that we resonate and vibrate. Our soul today has a unique frequency. We haven't learned how to read that frequency as a consciousness.
Wow.
Animals have. Animals read that frequency. They don't know their name. When you talk to the dogs, they'll tell me I'm cold, but they don't tell me that's my name, because they register energy. They register their vibration, and the subtle differences. Now, the vibration also could be a part of a sound for an animal to register. It can be part of the way it vibrates with their body. Also, understand animals have hair on their body. That hair also allows them to register spiritual energy as well as the environment. Not
Why
only
is that?
Because their hair is in almost every animal has a hollow shaft in it.
Wow.
So their vibration, their energy, the way
They're
they
somewhat-
receive it.
It's almost like it's antennas.
That's a good point. That's exactly
yes,
it.
yes.
It's antennas.
Wow, so all their antennas are like attracting the energy and the vibration so that they understand. They're so intuitive.
They're so intuitive.
They're so intuitive.
And they're receiving. And, cats have whiskers, so that's another form. Dogs have whiskers. Dogs also receive a lot through their paws. I bet you didn't know, here's an FYI for you. I love talking to elephants. Elephants receive a lot of their communications through their feet.
Really? They
Yes.
got those big toenails.
Those big toenails.
Right? They got
but
those
their
big
pads
toenails?
are extrally sensitive.
Wow.
They can register.
And aren't they gentle animals?
They're very gentle.
They're gentle. They're so big and loving. I when I think of them, I see them in Eat, Pray, Love.
Yes.
in that movie Eat, Pray, Love with Julia Roberts, at the end when she was petting it. I mean, it's just beautiful.
It is.
Have you ever seen an elephant?
Yes, and it broke my heart. I was at the Sussex County Fair 2 years ago, and they had an elephant walk where this elephant just kept going around in the same circle that it actually put and embedded in the earth because it had it going around the same circle for hours. And the Sussex County Fair goes on for a couple of weekends. And even though they alternate between two elephants, the elephant looks so sad and so unhappy that I actually started breaking down crying.
It must be incredible going to a fair with you, that you can talk to the animals. And let's channel right into it. We can go back to the other stuff later on, because Teresa and I kind of go with the flow. Whatever comes to us in the direction that the Creator wants us to go, that's where we're going to go. So we actually had on our our timeline to talk about animals and your relationship with them and how you can communicate with them, and to tell us some stories about them. And I remember you were telling us last time about the pigs. Bring that in, and then you can transition into...
My first experience with pigs was at college. I went to a large animal livestock college. I wanted to be a large animal vet. And I walk into the paddock. It's a late August day. It's very hot and very humid. And I don't know if you know this, but pigs don't have sweat glands. So in order to stay cool, they need to wallow in mud, because that keeps them cool.
That's why they wallow in mud.
That's why they wallow in mud.
Even Wilbur.
Yes.
From
Charlotte's
Web. Wilbur
wallows in mud. That's why they root around in mud. They need to cool their body temperature, and especially when it's very hot and humid. So they will create a mud hole.
Right.
And they were well across the paddock, and I opened the paddock door, and everybody's up on the hill waiting for the teacher. And I look over, and you can see all their ears perk up, and I'm like, okay. Not taking anything of it. I turn around, close the gate, and all of a sudden I can start to feel the earth starting to move. Now, I never felt that before. We're from New Jersey. We don't have earthquakes. So, next thing you know, I'm starting to walk up towards the ravine where everybody is waiting, and they're coming closer, and I turn around, and I'm like scared, quite frankly, out of my mind. Never had any experience, and I thought, okay, I'm going to get attacked by pigs. What did I do to, and in my head I'm thinking, what did I do to start this? What's really going on? Next thing you know, I mean, the earth literally is moving.
Wow.
Because these animals are big. They're 400 or 500 pounds. They're all sows, and they're moving at a hefty pace to come talk to me. Next thing you know, I'm surrounded by probably anywhere from a dozen to 24 big sows.
Wow.
Pull me off my feet. Now, I'm not a small woman. Never was, never will be.
Me neither.
I'm off my feet, and I'm on the back of one of the pigs. And I'm like, oh dear God, what next? Am I going to die? And I'm thinking in my head, but then all of a sudden
Teresa, your name is Teresa. Teresa gets trampled by pigs.
I'm like, okay, I didn't even get through my first class, and I'm already feeling overwhelmed. And next thing you know, I quiet down. I feel a peacefulness come over me, and all of a sudden I hear all the chatter from the pigs, telling me who's pregnant, who just had babies, how their life is, who's friends with who are connected with you, who runs the show. And they chattered the whole class. The whole class, they stood around me. No
Wow.
matter where we moved in the paddock, that we actually had to leave the paddock, and they stood out by the railing.
Wow.
As the class proceeded, and they were chattering, and the teacher kept looking and like trying to keep them quiet because the teacher couldn't talk over them.
What I see is like Noah's Ark, when all the animals were just coming, That's what I see.
And they do. Recently I did a horse farm, and the driveway is very long. And as I pull up into the driveway, I can see the horses all the way out in the further paddock. And there's quite a few paddocks, and they're all attached to each other. And I stop, and I stop at the end of the driveway, and I'm looking at my directions, making sure that I'm at the right place, because there's a lot of horse farms around.
Right.
And all of a sudden, I see all the horses start running towards the front of the gates. I'm like, I'm at the right place.
Yeah.
They already had picked up my energy.
Yeah.
They already knew I was going to come talk to them. So as I drove down, they're actually jockeying for position to see who's going to greet me first.
That's so funny.
It was so funny.
Horses are supposed to be very calming, even for autistic
Yes.
children.
They're very smart, very calming. Mankind, as a general rule, has no concept of just how smart animals are.
Yeah.
Highly intelligent, especially if they're raised around humans. They pick up our vocabulary.
Wow.
They use our vocabulary. They
Wow.
understand words. They understand body language. They understand your energy even before you present it. So let's, for an example, I was at the farm and one of the owners came up, and one of the owners doesn't treat the horse really well. And you can see it by I can see as the owner's approaching, the horse backs up a little bit and gives me one of those looks like,
Yeah.
I'm not really liking this. I don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
And the horse is smelling the air, putting his ears forward, trying to read what the next interaction is going to be with the owner.
Right.
And is preparing for that interaction.
Wow.
Animals read energy like you and I breathe.
You're gonna laugh. I used to have a dog named Pup. He's a beagle. Beautiful dog. Beautiful dog. His name was Pup, brand new, but Pup is stuck. It was beautiful. The night before 9/11, he always laid by my feet when I was sleeping. He came and laid right on my chest.
Yep.
The entire night. Like he knew what was gonna happen. It was really very, very intuitive. It really.
Animals perceive the environment far greater than we do. They can understand what's about to happen. They might not be able to articulate it, but it presents them in a different way. Whether it's, I want to be protected, I'm a little fearful, I'm a little anxious, or I have to protect you, and I'm gonna be between you and whatever's coming.
Right.
Depending on how they're perceiving their reality. You know, if you read any of the accounts of the tsunami in India several years ago, all the animals, especially the elephants, hit high ground hours before the tsunami hit.
Wow. So none of them got.
No animals were lost in the tsunami. People were.
Wow.
But the animals weren't.
Wouldn't it be awesome if they could tell,
Wouldn't it be awesome if we paid more attention to them?
Yeah.
If we pay more attention to the animals, they pay more attention to your environment, you'll learn a lot more about spirit, you'll learn a lot more about how the energy works with the universe.
How did this, like, I know you speak to animals that crossed over. What do they tell you?
They talk about what their life was like when they were here with their parents. They talk about animals they've left behind, family members they've left behind. They tell me about the signs that they leave, that they still crawl up into bed with their loved ones. Some of them will still wait for them when they come over. Others will say to me, I'm going to get ready to reincarnate. I know they're going to get another dog. I want to come back and be with this family.
Wow.
So it depends on what's going on in the animal as they've passed or before they've passed. Some of them tell me they're going to come back as other animals. They get the option to do that as well. So animals are different. We have different relationship with them. Animals who are rescued have a whole different dialogue than animals that weren't rescued. And just like humans, they have different personalities. And I don't think people in general really understand each animal is special. Each animal is unique.
They're beautiful. Animals are
just... I'm speechless when I talk about animals because to them they are my heart. They are what sing to me. They are what breathe life into the world to the Creator because they love unconditionally. They love you no matter if you had a good day, a bad day, you're happy, you're sad. They're happy to see you come home. They're happy to be your guardian. They're happy to be in your life. They give you unconditional love. And if we learned how to unconditionally love the way that they do, we'd all live in a better place in the world.
I agree. So how, tell us a story about, if you can, about someone that called you to read their dogs or the animals that have passed over.
Clients come and they come because they want to know. A lot of them, did they do the right thing?
To put them to sleep.
Them to sleep.
Because isn't it? What's the word I'm looking for? Ironic, or the difference between you can put a dog to sleep, but a person they're actually talking about like being able to. Someone that's got cancer, someone that's that they can't choose to take their own lives, and I know it's controversial, but it's very
we do the graceful thing by allowing our animals to live as long as they do, and then we do the humane thing.
Yes.
By when they're sick and they're ailing and there's no point of letting them suffer, we allow them to pass the rainbow bridge to the other side. I believe we should let humans do that as well. You have free will. If you're terminal and you're dying, you shouldn't be in bed suffering. Your soul shouldn't have to suffer through that. You should be allowed to go and pass over. And I'm going to share this with you. Part of my philosophy with that is we live in a world right now that is highly technology-based and pharmaceutical-driven.
I agree.
So, with that being said, by keeping you alive through the pharmaceutical drugs, you're fueling a whole economy. Whereas if we didn't have all that in nature versus nurture, you probably would have died a long time ago and would not have suffered, because whatever illness you would have had, if we didn't have all that we have in the wild, if we were still like Native American and we lived off the land and we didn't have extraordinary circumstances to keep us alive, we wouldn't have been alive.
I think it should be person's choice.
Correct.
Person's choice.
Well, in the Native American belief structure, especially in the nomad Americans, when they traveled across large areas of country, what would happen was the elders would decide, am I too old to make the travel? And I wouldn't want to hold back the troop.
Right.
They would stay behind. And they would either live their life out to their fullest, or they would let the animals come and feed off of them, and because they knew that their time was done.
No. My puppies, who we were talking about before, we laid them to rest, and I'll never forget. Oradell Animal Hospital had we brought her to Oradell Animal Hospital, and we just knew. And they put her on the gurney, and she came out, and she just looked at me. She wanted to go. She wanted to go. She didn't want to be here.
They don't want to suffer anymore, and they know. Animals, I believe, are much more intelligent about life than humans. They know when it's time. They know when it's enough, and they're right with that passing. Whereas humans are so fearful of what's next. Animals can't wait to get to what's next, because they know how great it is.
Right.
They know what unconditional love is, so they're passing from here to unconditional love in eternity, whether they choose to stay there or not. And that's what I just did a big event on Thursday night for the West Caldwell Library, and one of the questions was, what's heaven like? And the way I explain heaven is, imagine your greatest experience, your fondest memories, and having either been in love to the point of pure euphonic energy or emotion. Imagine that and amplified it 1,000 times. You haven't even hit what heaven's like. The beauty and the essence of what the other side is like. And that's also what I talk about in my readings, because a lot of people ask me, is my animal okay? Is my mother okay? What are they doing? And I ask them, and they tell me. Some animals hang around. And your belief structure transcends of how you're going to get to the other side. I have people who tell me, I'm playing bingo all day and I'm a happy camper. If that's what you believe, then that's what's going to transpire when you pass over.
Well, I know what heaven is like because I visited heaven.
Isn't it awesome?
It's so tranquil, and it really is a beautiful place. It's just everybody's loving, and it's just energy, and it's unconditional love. That's what it is.
And that's one of the reasons why when I meditate, I can get back so quickly. Because when I meditate, I can get there, and then I want to stay there.
Yeah, so could I.
And then I get slammed back in my body, and I hear Spirit yelling at me, "We're not going to let you do that anymore." Yeah. So every once in a while, I sneak under the radar.
Yeah. I mean, and it's funny, like through the 20-some years after my stroke. Listen, I always knew I was different way back when. I remember feeling different when I was young. And when I got hit in the head with the bat, playing softball, I still hear that my purpose and all that kind of stuff. And but it was, what was I saying? I forget what I was saying about
how heaven is and how beautiful it is, and then how we're all different.
Oh, how over the years I've had to get balanced and work on allowing myself to be earthbound and to be spiritual. Like I have the potential to do either one that I want to do, because through the work I've done, I had to understand that you had to put your feet on earth and speak earthbound messages to people, because they didn't understand when I was talking my spiritual world. They didn't understand it. I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this. Oh yeah, let's go. Oh, it's so much fun. Like, I was always in a happy place, and the truth is that most people don't understand happy.
No, they don't.
They don't understand happy. They understand when they complain. They understand when they're negative. They understand this. But when you come to them and you're in a happy, joyous place like I am and was, and just lived in this reverent place, like I was like, oh,
it's full euphoria.
Yeah, but nobody understood it. Nobody understood, except people, like you and Karen. People who were in that spiritual world understood it, but most people got afraid and taken back by my happiness, my joy.
And you know what's sad? The sad thing about that is, if we all, and I mean all, just take a sliver of that and live that every day, we can expand upon that so that we can live in the heavens here on earth, because as so above is below.
Absolutely. But you know what? Do you think, I got a question for you. Do people really want happiness? That's a good question, because it's on the table for everybody to grab. Like, even with what you've gone through in your life, you live in that euphoric place. You fight to keep that feeling in you.
Absolutely.
But you know that it's your choice to have that euphoric feeling and to pick that joy. So I'm trying to educate myself on, do people really want to be happy, or maybe we need to change their thought patterns on how to get happy?
I think it's a complex answer.
Yeah.
Because it's a simple question, and the simpler question usually the more complex the answer is.
I agree. And I don't know the answer to it. I'm just trying to figure it out.
I don't either. I can tell you there's a lot of influencing factors that go into that question's answer. And I will tell you, I believe government and those people who run the world really do their best to suppress happiness, because happiness breeds light. And when you breathe light, you breathe love, you breathe euphoria, and that's how the Creator can orchestrate as so above is below. Right. And there are people out there who look to propagate the dark, the negativity.
What's propagate? Propagate
means to, propagate. When you propagate plants, you're cultivating it. You're fertilizing it. You're creating it.
Okay.
So I believe there's a lot of people out there who want to keep the world a negative place, because it allows the negativity, the fear to grow. And a lot of people live in fear, and that fear is addictive. It becomes also, unfortunately, like a disease. It carries from one person to the other to the other. And if we can change, and that's one of the things I wanted to do in the book, was to start to change, and one of my messages in the work that I do is to stop the fear and move in a positive direction. Fear is a man-made emotion. There's no fear in heaven.
Right.
And I don't think a lot of people realize that. I think a lot of people think that fear is part of heaven, or fear is a human condition. If you can get beyond the fear, then you can live in the happiness and the light. Look, we live in a very complex world. I'm not saying this is idealistic. I'm not fooled to believe that every day and every issue is going to be euphoric and lovely. We all live with challenges, whether it be health, monetary, family.
Honestly, you're the prime example. Look what you've been through in your life, and you're still sitting here sharing your wisdom with everybody.
I hope so. I hope I'll be here a little longer.
You'll be here.
But in the real scheme of things, I've survived cancer, breast cancer, stage 2 to stage 3. Right after Sandy, I was admitted into the hospital not knowing that I had a diverticulitis pocket and an abscess. My white blood count was 24,000. I was in the hospital for 30 days. I had 3 surgeries. The doctor confesses to me a year later when I'm going back for my 3-month checkups. A year later, she sat me down and she said, I told you were real sick. And I said to her, I laughed at her. I said, you must tell everybody that. And she said, you kept saying to me that every day I came in to visit you. And she's like, you didn't understand really how sick you were.
But I believe that a lot of that had to do with you wouldn't let it in.
Maybe you're right.
You wouldn't let it in. You wouldn't let it in.
I was laughing. I'm like,
Yeah.
you can't, and she's like, out of all my clients I've ever seen, and I've been doing this for 30 plus years, you were the sickest I've ever seen. And recovery, we never thought you would recover.
Teresa, I know.
I'm just sharing that with you because I want everybody to know that it's what you perceive becomes your reality.
Yes, that's why they say that. I mean, Lynn Grabhorn from the book Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting, which was the first book I ever started to read that really got me on understanding my journey. She said, like, if you watch the news and everybody's talking about, oh, the flu is here, the flu's in town, you don't get the flu, don't get the flu, don't get the flu. And all of a sudden you're talking about it, and I don't want the flu, I'm not, and all of a sudden you're drawing it into your life, and you know what? You're going to get the flu.
But it's also how you deal with what you do get. Like, I'm not so idealistic to believe that you can physically ward off everything that comes your way.
No, but you also need to
There's a balance.
not in your mind, use your mind to not draw it in, because we can draw in sicknesses, and
I think we can give into it faster than fighting it.
Yes.
I am a spiritual warrior. It's not within my nature to concede.
Right.
I don't concede very easily.
Right.
I will fight whatever I need to fight, whether it's emotional, psychological, even mental. We all have inner demons. I have my inner demons.
Yes, me too.
And they sometimes rear their ugly head at the worst times. But I believe those inner demons are really the devil. We talk about the Creator, and those inner demons, if you read any other of the mystics, talk about it's not the devil out there. It's not somebody attacking me. It's my own inner demons.
Right.
My insecurities,
Absolutely.
my fears, the things that I am carrying in this life. Those are the challenges.
Yes.
So it's really how we perceive our world will allow us to navigate. And yes, look, as much as I'm a spiritual being, I'm having a physical experience, and sometimes that physical experience is not nice.
No. I mean, through the process, I share with you one of the things that I've learned. I was after my stroke for many years. I was always afraid to complete anything, like clean your room completely, or finish my book, or because I thought my life was going to end when I finished it. I thought that it was going to, that was the destiny. The closure. Yeah. So I'm like, well, so I would leave stuff in a closet, and I'd do this, and I'd sweep it. Like I would store all that stuff because I thought that my life was going to end after I completed it. But now what I do is I push through it. I make sure that I keep going, keep moving. Don't lay in bed. You can't lay in bed. You got to get up in the morning. You got to face things head on. You have to clean. You got to do this. You got to do that, and you just got to keep moving.
Well, that's also why I wrote the book, because I find a lot of adolescents get so embedded into their circumstances, whether they've been bullied, they have anxiety, they have depression, they have family issues, financial issues, that they don't realize it's temporary. It might feel like it's permanent now, but there is a life ahead of them waiting. And it's not temporary in that sense of just that moment. It's everything is temporary. You can change it moment by moment. And it's the baby steps that allow us to do that, whether it's taking yourself outside and bathing in sunlight. I love to do that.
Yes, sun is, when the sun shines at me, I just feel, that's where I see God. That's where I see, because the sun beaming down on me with the heat and the radiance is just
awesome.
It's wonderful.
And then I like to do that in the ocean. See, to me, that's reverent. Because then the waves come in, they wash out all the negativity, and I'm refilled with the sunlight, And I can stay in the ocean for hours. When I go down with my friends, everybody's on the beach. I'm like, are you ever coming out of the water? I'm like, no, not really.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when I go down to the beach, I love just meditating on the water, because it's like you just see the reverence of life, and the way that the earth is living, and the ocean goes out and it comes in, and it never goes out and comes in the same way twice. It's just beautiful.
That's why I love to do spiritual detoxing in the ocean.
Oh my God. It's almost like a baptism.
Yes, it is a baptism. As soon as the warm weather hits,
do that to me. Ooh.
I'm down in the water, no matter how cold it is. But that to me is, you want your angels, find something that you find comfortable. To me, going down the Jersey Shore, we live on the East Coast, and just riding the waves and having the sun bathe me, I come out of there reborn.
Yeah.
It's like my addiction.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to get the inclination now, even though we're supposed to get a bad snowstorm the next couple of days. I'm like, okay, is it ready yet? Is it time yet? I need to go down and get in the ocean.
Well, do you think you'd feel the same way in any ocean?
No, I was down in California, and the ocean energy is different.
Yeah.
I wasn't too comfortable there.
So it's completely, Pacific Ocean is completely different than the Atlantic
Ocean.
Yeah.
And most people don't understand that. The energy is different. The density of the water is a little bit different. The buoyancy is different.
Even the beaches are different.
Beaches are different too.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm very sensitive to energy. I'm very sensitive to the environment that I'm in. Often that we'll go out and we'll go to a restaurant, and I'll sit down and I'm like, I don't feel comfortable, we have to leave. So my friends know that because of my sensitivity to environment and energies and people, I've put myself in as comfortable, light, loving environments as possible. Going to the mall is extremely difficult for me. The fluorescent lights bother me. They kind of freak me out energetically. If the mall's too crowded and there's too much energy, because I feel like I'm being condensed.
Look how many people are at the mall. And there are people not coming to see you with that open energy. Like people that are coming to see you are there for a specific reason.
Correct.
And they're not all the same, but at least their intention for that evening is the same. But when you go to the mall, every single person has a different dynamic and a different energy, and it's like all over the place. Like it's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
I feel like I'm a ping pong.
Yes.
What is it? What's the ping pong machines?
Yeah.
When you hit the ball, the ball hits off the.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm getting hit off the what do you call the things that
the things that they bounce
off of. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
And I come home totally exhausted.
But I think it's an important point that we touch on, Teresa, that let's make people aware that you have the gauges and the understanding and the knowledge and the possibility to feel what's around you as well and what's good for you as well. If you're not feeling well in a certain situation, then get yourself out of it.
Correct, and I talk about that, and I try to categorize it, because a lot of people need to have an understanding what that is. It's either mother's intuition if you're female. If you're male, it's just general intuition. It's just a knowing. It's a sense.
Gut feeling.
A gut feeling. Sometimes it resonates in your gut. Sometimes it resonates in your head. Sometimes you might even feel it in your ears. Sometimes I get a little pinging in my ears, or a little ring.
My ear was ringing yesterday. It was ringing. I'm like, what is that? I'm like, go away, stop.
No, that's the universe tuning you. It's so that we can stay centered and balanced in the universe. But it's also a way of a sign that says there's energy around. So for the last couple of mornings, I've been getting that high-pitched, and it goes on for a while.
That's exactly what I had yesterday.
Yeah.
In my ear, I'm like, I'm like, what do you want?
It's high-pitched. It's not what they want. It's the universe attuning you to them.
I was like this, touching my ear, like, stop.
Remember, Mother Earth is changing. She's rebirthing. She's crying out for help. Yes. We're doing not good things to her, and we are not giving back. We're not giving back love. We're not giving back her resources. We're not allowing her to sustain her life. And if Mother Earth doesn't sustain her life, we don't sustain ours. Mm-hmm. And there is a dynamic connection between the two that most people don't connect. Mm-hmm. So what you're hearing is, as she shifts, as the Earth shifts, we need to shift with her in order to stay here, especially those who are spiritual, who understand the energy, who work in the light, who work in the love, who are old souls, who are indigo children. Indigo children are very sensitive to earth changes and environmental
when
changes.
did the tsunami happen? 2011?
No, I think it was 13. But
Because-
don't quote me.
No, because I remember, I think I had an aha moment here that I took the Silva method. Did I have an aha moment
Yes,
on
you
this show?
did. At the last show.
Okay, so I went back and was going through all my papers and trying to find it, and I found that, I graduated the class. But then I remembered that Alice, who is, I got to introduce you to Alice, very, very in tune, spiritual individual. But she had us, not aside from the Silva method, she had us all go to an office in Paramus, and we all went there to pray for the earth. And we all went there to pray that the waters, something was going on with the waters. And we all used our powers of our minds and our energy to create a healing for the earth. It was beautiful.
I believe we all should go hug trees. And I know some of you watching this, you're going to say, oh, that's a tree hugger.
I'm going to hug a tree later on.
But trees are alive. They vibrate. They feel energy. If you notice, a tree will bend towards the light.
Yes.
It bends towards the sunlight. Why? Because it feels the energy. When you hug a tree, you'll feel the energy come back. And for those of you who poo-poo, oh, she's another tree hugger, go try it before you have something negative to say. I am a big advocate of embracing Mother Nature, because through nature, the Creator can be felt, seen, and understood.
Well, they say that if you need to balance yourself, you need to take your shoes off and go stand in the grass.
Correct. Well, as long as there's no dog that pooed there. But balancing is not only putting your feet in, but also breathing in the color. Why did the Creator make the color green, Mother Nature? Because when you look at the color spectrum, Roy G. Biv, the middle color that balances the left and the right is green. So you have three colors, red, orange, yellow, one side of the spectrum, green in the middle, and then blue, indigo, and violet, which is the spiritual. So to unite both worlds, the color green is the bridge.
Wow.
So that when we go out in nature, we breathe in that balance, where we allow that energy to be absorbed into our body, whether we realize it or not.
So what they're telling me from the other side is that when the summer comes, we need to do a broadcast from outside.
Absolutely.
In the park.
In the park.
That's what we need to do.
Well, that's what I'll be doing when I'm also working on a Welcome to My World series. So one of my things is in the park, in museum, in cemetery. So I will be filming a lot from outside.
Wow. I love to sing outside is just reverent for me. Because
so let's go do it.
Yes. Because I'm like, the whole world is at your fingertips. The whole world is coming together. It's just remarkable.
It is remarkable. And what saddens me, that I noticed much more frequently the last couple of years, is so many people today wear earbuds and headsets. You're missing out on so much of the Creator's music by wearing those headsets and earbuds and only listening to your handheld devices. The world is speaking to us. It speaks to us in all different ways, through signs, through birds, through bees. All those sounds resonate to our soul. It allows us to stay balanced, it allows us to stay healthy, but it also allows us to all feel united.
I know. I think we have to start wrapping it up, but what I would like to do is I would like to share with you, first of all, the next series is really a wonderful series. The next part of the series, part 3, and we're really going to delve into the book and really understand the light from the book. The book's title is something that is misleading is coming to me. It really is a lot of light. Teresa has really put a lot of her heart and her soul in this, and this brings so much light to you that I really recommend you go out and buy it and read it and give her an Amazon review, because it's important to touch on all bases in life, and she's done such a incredible job, and we're going to touch base, and we're going to really delve into this book on our next series. But I would like to talk to you for a few minutes about the leprechaun, because since it's St. Patrick's Day, and St. Patrick's Day is next Friday.
Correct.
So you had a leprechaun issue. So tell us a little bit about
I grew up in
leprechaun.
a Catholic Italian family, and my first coming out to my family that I was spiritual and I saw figures as an adult was my first apartment was haunted. And if you listened to the previous show, I talk about Al, and Al haunted the apartment and what he did to me. But what I didn't tell you was how I got to find out it was Al. My Nana was very, very
I had a Nana too.
Spiritual. And she would always sit me next to her and talk to me. But she wouldn't talk about spirit. She would just talk about, don't be afraid of spirit. She says the things you need to fear in life are people. Never be afraid of spirits. I mean, stuff like that. But she would talk to me in very general terms. And my experience...
Probably because, sorry to interrupt you, probably because as she spoke to in spiritual terms and not, easy, understandable terms, everybody would have thought she was crazy too. Right? Does that make sense? Like, especially back when she was teaching you.
She was ill, and I would go in every week, and I would always bring her in rice pudding. She loved rice pudding. So I'd make rice pudding because nobody would make her rice pudding, and nobody could make it the way I made it, according to her. My Nana suffered from debilitating arthritis to the point where she couldn't get out of bed. So I would go in every week on a Wednesday by myself, and I would sit with her, and I'd feed her rice pudding.
That's awesome.
And she would just say things, but my Nana wasn't the type to talk. She was just a statement person. So she would statement me on just like, don't never be afraid of spirit, you should worry about the living, not the dead. And then she wouldn't say anything, and we would just sit and watch TV together.
She was planting.
She's planting the seeds. And I didn't realize that until our conversation right now. She was the one planting the seeds. I don't know that she had any spiritual gifts. My Nana was very, how do I word this? She kept to herself. She had 5 daughters. My mother was the youngest, and her daughters really embraced her. To where I didn't have full access to her. That's how I would go on Wednesday, because if I went in on the weekends when everybody was around, we'd never have any private time.
Right.
So, and she was ill, so as I said, I would go in and bring rice pudding. She was the first one I divulged to that I'm having a problem in my apartment. Now, she lived in a 5-story walk-up in Harlem, and her next door neighbor was Mary. Mary also very Catholic, and she would come and sit and visit with us, and she'd also eat rice pudding. So I'd bring a big bowl of rice pudding for both of them. And I was telling them I'm having this situation. So Mary said, and Mary had this really smoker's voice.
Is that your grandmother's name?
No. My grandmother's name is Vincentia.
Oh, because my grandmother's name was Mary.
Okay.
Nana was Mary. So I'm just trying to figure it out.
She had that smoker's voice, that really hoarse, deep voice. She's like, no, you have a leprechaun. I can't even emulate it. I'm not good at making different voices. Anyway, I'm like, what's a leprechaun? She's like, you gotta catch the leprechaun. The leprechaun, if you catch the leprechaun, we Italians believe that they bring you gold. So I would go home and try to catch the leprechaun for weeks. I'd be running around, Al be doing all kinds of stuff, knocking stuff over. I'm like, come here, little leprechaun. And that's when I realized, it's not a leprechaun, it's a full-grown man.
Yeah. Yeah, and how could you catch a spirit?
You can't catch a spirit, but that's the whole folklore with to catch a leprechaun. Because the folklore, because I did look up the folklore is if you catch the leprechaun, you'll be full of gold for the rest of your life, but you can't catch a spirit, so you'll never have the gold.
Ah.
But you'll have the luck.
Yeah.
So it's the luck of the leprechaun.
The luck of the Irish.
Right. So that was my leprechaun story.
Wow.
And I did that for weeks, not knowing. I was 22 years old. There wasn't internet. So for those of you who are thinking to yourself, why didn't you just Google it? There was no Google. There was no internet.
Yes.
I was taught by stories from our grandparents.
Wow.
Talked about stregas. I didn't know what that meant. Mary would tell me different things. I think she was kind of spiritual in her own right. When you went to her apartment, there was all these different types of spiritual rocks, orbs, figures, busts of Mary. So
Right.
I think there was a lot of that in their lives. But I was only taught through the stories. It was only till the internet and finding other people who had some history that I learned what I learned from a physical human perspective.
Wow. So that's incredible. Catch the leprechaun.
Catch the
You know.
leprechaun.
But everybody is Irish on St. Patrick's Day.
Yes.
Everybody
is
has
Irish.
the luck of the Irish on St. Patrick's Day.
Just don't drink too much, because
No.
then that luck has it go. It turns green.
Eat corned beef and cabbage and drink one green beer. Right? They make green beer.
Yes, they make green beer.
Green beer. I remember when I was young and playing softball, and do you remember the Golden Steer?
Yes.
The Golden Steer.
On River Road.
Yeah. No, on Wagga River.
Wagga Road.
River turns.
Right, with the big steer in the front and the horns. Yeah.
Well, my softball coach, Mr. Greenwood, who is another inspiration to me, who I'm gifted to have, had in my life, who was a softball coach, he would go down to, there and he'd drink, the entire day. But so if you were playing softball and it was during softball season, he knew you have to be home by 9 o'clock. And if you're not home by 9, I could stay out drinking. You can't. 9 o'clock in the house. And if we weren't in the house, like, he knew that we weren't in the house. I'm like, how did you know that we weren't in the house, But,
intuition.
Yeah, but he's an Irishman, Mr. Greenwood, so.
How awesome is that?
I think we've been, I don't know how long, how long we've
We're
been
an hour and 10 already.
Hour and 10 minutes,
Yeah, we
wow.
are.
So I just want to recap on today. Teresa spoke about animals, and she spoke about the love, and she spoke about earthbound, and she spoke about uniting and being at peace, and she spoke about bringing in the angels into your life, and she spoke about her tag team. She has so much information for us to really connect with Teresa. Connect with Teresa if you need a spiritual reading, or if you would like to go to one of her open forums, which the next one is on.
April 7th at the Satterbrook Marriott.
Okay.
And I'm also going to start doing, as soon as the weather changes a little bit, a little live broadcasting outside where I'll take your questions on a live broadcast.
Yes.
I'm also putting up some classes shortly. I'm learning technology.
Yeah.
So it's hard. We're older. We didn't
Yeah.
grow up in the age of technology. So for us, it's the learning curve's kind of big.
Yeah, but we're doing
we're
good.
doing
We're broadcasting this ourselves, and we're videotaping it ourselves, and we're putting it up. So we're doing good. And
We're doing good.
You're doing good. It really is important to stay aware of your surroundings, to really listen to your intuition, listen to your insides. We're only gifting you with what we know for ourselves, but we're all unique beings, and we all need to live our own paths and live our own lives and really do what's best for us, and to give to people. It's really another lesson that Teresa had learned, to not worry about me, to worry about others. This was a show filled with wonderful information. We're going to do a show from outside. We're going to do a broadcast from outside. I think it'd be awesome.
Not to interrupt, I'm being told to leave them with one final thought.
Okay.
To start out small is go outside and listen to nature. Go outside and take a deep breath from outside. Let the sun bathe you. Take the baby steps that will allow you to release anything that is not for your highest good, any of your anxiety, your nervousness, your maybe even depression. Allow the light to absorb in you, through you, and around you, and release you from the burdens that hold you back.
And one other thing I wanted to mention to everybody, our audience, is we're going to be doing a show together called Alive. And it's funny, it just brings us both together. I'm actually starting on life coaching, and I just came up with the title for it, Awaken Your Practice. And awaken your practice because you need to be awake. You need to have that light that awakens you to be able to find your journey. But the practice part of it is because it's all a practice. We all just have to forge ahead and keep practicing and re-educating ourselves and learning what could be the best for us. And we try things and we practice, and then we come back and we review. It's just like a softball game. So Awaken Your Practice is my title for my business for life coaching, and actually I have a live page on it so that we could do broadcasts and we could put it up there so that we're teaching people.
We're teaching people. I'm going to work on the same thing on mine. You're going to be able to see this on teresacommunicates.com sometime next week, but you can always go to Facebook on both our accounts, Teresa Communicate, or actually Teresa St.Frances, and ReneMarie.
Yeah, it's on teresacommunicates.com as well.
Yes.
Because I put it on there. Anyway, it's been a blessing. Namaste.
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 May your weekend be blessed, full of new journeys, new experiences, and may they make you smile.
God bless.
God bless.
We're going to blow our kisses, and I'm not going to sing.